Hey guys, Happy New Year. Happy 2026 to you. This is Dave, your Jiu-Jitsu uncle. I want to kick things off with just saying thank you. Thank you for watching this channel. Thank you for listening to the podcast and watching the short instructionals that I put up. Narrate Jiu-Jitsu for older and non-competitive people. I appreciate it a lot. Every single view that you provide on TikTok, on IG, on YouTube is very, very much appreciated. So again, thank you. So this video is about whether or not goal setting for BJJ as a New Year's resolution type of thing is advisable, or does it work? My short answer to that is it depends. It depends on who you are. It depends on how you plan for things. How do you execute your objectives on a daily basis, right? Whether it's for work, for school, projects that you do. I don't think there is a best way to do things. So I'm not gonna tell you what you should do, but I will show you what I tend to do. So I think being honest with how your habits have been in the past when you set New Year's resolutions, kind of take a look at whether or not that's actually something you can stick to is a good indicator whether or not setting goals for BJJ is a thing for you. In my case, for example, I've never been good at setting like really long-term goals. You can say that I have a publicly traded company mindset wherein I look at things at a quarter to quarter basis, set my goals accordingly. Is there an overarching goal? Yeah, but it's relatively vague, kind of like I want to get better. So it's not really as quantifiable. It's kind of like the corporate SMART goal, and it's a acronym for each of those letters. And I guess if you're the type who can stick to that, you set a big goal at the start of the year, and at the end of the year you can achieve everything that you list in advance, then good for you. But for me, I couldn't do that. Like I have proven to myself that if I try to do that, I either put too much pressure on myself. Two, I either rush through things too quickly and kind of lose steam towards the middle and the end. Something like jiu-jitsu where things are so dynamic, you kind of lose your path along the way of your progress because the growth is not linear. What I do in general is I look at things at a quarter basis in a very macro view. For example, last year, I think during Q1, I wanted to focus more on just being more familiar with capturing head and arm opportunities, whether it's a Doris, guillotine, anaconda, neckties, whatever that might be. I just want to explore what the tendencies are when I roll. So what I usually do is I have to have the mindset that I am starting from near scratch, wherein I have to record myself and see what my tendencies are, and be very, very hyper alert during rolls, during flow rolls, partner drills as to what my tendencies are and what my opponent's tendencies are based on the game that I force them to react to. So do they end up in turtle most of the time? Do they end up in side control? Do they end up in me being half guard top and for me to access? So I kind of have to fail quite a bit and explore quite a bit on what the tendencies are before I narrow down what technique I want to focus on, rather than having in my list that I want to be good at head and arm for this quarter, and then I put a check mark in Darces, Anacondas, head and arm, and I want to make sure I can do all of those. If you're new and you're still exploring what those moves are, I think that's a good thing to do, just to know what each one of them are. But if you've been training for quite a while and you technically know how to do all those things relatively well, knowing when those opportunities become available and whether or not it fits your game, not just your body frame, is more important. And that kind of exploration led me to venture more into catch wrestling style of using half Nelson, full Nelson, stockades, using the head and arm for pinning and control rather than subs. So that kind of opened my mindset. The subs still come in if they are available, but it never really crossed my mind to use the head and arm as a primary way for me to gain upper body control before I even complete a pass or before I attempt a submission. So that was something that was very useful to me. So it's the same thing with my open guard retention, as you saw in the video that I put up, I think 3-4 weeks ago, no, around 3 weeks ago, about using Google LM, using AI tools to help me learn how to develop an open guard retention and maintenance game. It's the same thing. I usually take like a whole month, if not more, to explore the entire concept. I know from a broad perspective what I wanted to do, but ultimately I need to find out what I am doing wrong first and what my tendencies are before I choose what specific techniques to integrate or to drill into it, so that the path to exploring what works into the game is a lot shorter rather than trying things that I have absolutely like no confidence of executing, or very relatively lower amount of knowledge and familiarity onto a move. Being able to utilize, watch my videos and see how I retain guard and maintain guard, I kind of figured out that, oh, I can actually move this way and enter reverse de la Hiva more efficiently, to switch to other guards if necessary, then force myself to play a new guard. I can add the new guard stuff down the road, but that's not the objective. The objective right now is exploring what I can fit into my current tendencies. So that is more on the shorter term thing. What I do essentially, instead of setting goals right from the start of the year and moving forward, is I kind of look back. So during the start of the year, like right now it's January, don't really have a goal as what I want to do the whole year, but I have a goal of what to build on. So last December, I developed that open guard thing. It took me a month to kind of get familiarized with it, to get a little bit of success. Quite a significant improvement in that aspect of the game. Now I can build on top of that, knowing that I can retain guard and I can maintain things a certain way. Where are my holes now in terms of preventing me from doing a counter attack, from doing so that I can stop being defensive and just stop being just to defend the pass or retain the guard? What can I do now to do a counter, whether to off balance a person, do a counter attack, or wrestle up, whatever that might be? That's what I'm going to do this January to February ish. From that context alone, there are other things that I want to build on. So what I do usually is every 6 months to a year, I do a check as to what couldn't I do at the start of the period of tracking and what can I do now. And I can clearly see a huge list of things generally that I can do now, whether it's from a macro perspective or a micro, like a specific move or a specific sequence. For older grapplers, for people who don't have a short timeline because they have to meet a competitive schedule, I think that is a much more fruitful and more useful way to track things, because there is no ceiling, there is no cap as to where you have to stop, right? Because you just keep on building things and you kind of see that, oh, in January I could not do this. Like let's say you're a new white belt and you're playing close guard. For the longest time you were trying to get better at close guard, and now you're starting to learn like arm bars and triangles and kimuras and hip bump sweep and scissor sweep and all that stuff. And you can do all those things when you drill it, when you do all those things when you practice it, but you can never seem to hit it. And now you get frustrated. And what happens is you start looking for branches off and little tricks and stuff on YouTube and Instagram to try to compensate for that. And you end up learning, like you're moving a little bit and then you start like spouting left and right, and you never really move up, you never really develop that skill because you keep on resetting. If you do this approach of just like knowing like, okay, I want, from a broad perspective, I want to get better at close guard, then you start watching yourself when you roll, like why can't you initiate any close guard? If you have that mindset of exploring the gaps first, then you might realize that, oh, you never control the posture long enough that allows you to cut an angle to get the attacks going. You're just holding your legs wrong, right? You're crossing your legs wrong, whatever that might be. If you can just fix that little thing, you'll be surprised at how many things open up, and that trajectory will be pretty like systematical rather than like you're going on and off on the path. So that's something worth looking into. It's very rewarding to see progress that way. So in 2025, so I was able to train like almost every day. As you can see from my logged hours from my smartwatch, I trained a lot and I learned a lot as well. But I think if I wasn't systematic about it, it would not have resulted to anything. The amount of mat time you spend is not directly correlated to the amount of skill or knowledge that you build. I think being intentional in what your training progress is and being focused on not being lured by shiny objects is super important. To sum everything up for this year, I hope that you can consider and try building frameworks, building mini objectives off a broad idea rather than just, I'm gonna get better at leg locks, but you don't know exactly what to do. You're gonna end up like every week trying a different entry, every week trying a different guard to play with. Every week you're trying to finish a different sub. You realize that you're essentially just like moving up and moving back down to zero again because you have to learn something new, moving back up, moving back to zero because somebody countered it. You don't have control over what your partner or opponent is doing. A lot of times you feel like you're resetting back to zero because it didn't work. It's not that it didn't work, it's just that you are not as confident or as sharp to maximize what your tendencies are. You need to know who you are, you need to know how you grapple, you need to know what your tendencies, what your weaknesses, what your strengths are. And that takes a lot of time, and that takes a lot of being in bad situations and failing to be able to understand that. And I hope, especially again, if you're not the competitive type who have a short timeline that you have to meet, spend some time like really try to get better in those things and be okay with accepting the fact that it will take you a while to get better at it. There will be people that will probably tell you you're stupid to do that and you're just wasting time, but who cares? Who cares what they think? It's about your game. And don't be shy to ask help, right? Don't be shy to ask for opinions and feedback from anybody. It doesn't have to be somebody senior. It can be anybody, higher belt, lower belt. You can just ask them like, oh, does it feel heavy when I do this? Did the choke feel like tight and clean around your artery, or did it feel like a crank? Just try to figure things out versus what you are trying to achieve and build up from there. I hope you like that episode. I want to keep it short. And if you notice, this is my product, Funk Off. This is like a laundry detergent specifically designed for rash guards, gis, sportswear, synthetic fabrics. Give it a shot. Take a look at it at washfunkoff.com. Thank you so much and have a happy new year, and I'll see you again soon. Jiu-Jitsu Uncle out. Bye.